I think we have to have a much more modest stance about what we can do in the world.
Talk about what you mean by that.
Well, a lot of times we have unintended consequences to our actions, and a good example for me is Pakistan. We have, since 9/11, provided the Pakistani military with $11 billion. The amount of money that we have put into the Pakistani military has enabled them to expand their nuclear program, which they retail to our most dire enemies around the world. The Army is not a very good Army, but they're great investors. They buy up the biggest banks and real estate and so on. That's our tax dollars going into support the pensions of all these Army commanders in Pakistan. And it's placed the military in Pakistan in an outsized position in that society, as well as giving Pakistanis the feeling that everything in their society is controlled by the United States, and that's why they hate us.
So they resent us for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
don't we know this? I mean, you know it, we know it in the abstract, but our government has been in business, in quotes, with these guys for a very long time, while they have returned the favor by screwing us royally in international diplomacy terms. Yeah. And they may be harboring bin Laden. Right?
Well, I remember when I was there in 2004, I was in Peshawar, and there was a big gun battle outside of Peshawar, and there was an announcement they had caught Ayman al-Zawahiri's son. Zawahiri is the #2 guy in Al-Qaeda, and Ahmed. And I thought, well, this is interesting because Zawahiri doesn't have a son named Ahmed. So,
is that right?
You know, I just happen to know that.
Who's a helpful fact to have handy at it.
Right. So I'm following the news with a lot of interest. And, you know, the next day the headlines are, Ahmed is talking. And then after that, there's nothing. And I thought, you know, the Pakistani military is in the looking for bin Laden business. They're getting paid. If they found him, they'd be out of business.
And yet, so we say Vice President Biden is over there today. I mean, what honestly can the federal government, our federal government, do at this point with regard to Pakistan that would not be any worse? I mean, I guess we could change our policy to some degree, but the government doesn't seem set on righting our relationship with Pakistan anytime soon.
Actually, I'm a great fan of Biden's proposal, which is, you know, to try to, you know, lower our footprint in Afghanistan and be more offshore, you know, striking at particular targets that we know of, but try to reduce our presence and our ambition in that region as much as possible, because I don't think that you know, our overweening ideas about how we can transform these societies get us deeper and deeper into trouble.
Every time we say we don't want to do nation building, we end up getting into the business of nation building, it seems like. What should we be doing that we're not doing?
Well, frankly, I think that, you know, they were getting into areas such as trying to reform their drug practices. You know, we're sending in lots of DEA agents and so on. We got a massive drug problem in this country.
Yeah, we should reform our own drug policies.
And you know, so diverting all those kinds of resources into an area that desperately needs any kind of economic development, even in illegal drugs, that it can, I think is a mistaken idea. And so I think scaling back and imagining what is possible, what is really in our interest. Well, our interest is in eliminating Al-Qaeda, but in the process of trying to transform Afghan society, we've made the Taliban our enemy, so that, you know, the Taliban never had struck at the United States until that Times Square bomber. He was sent by the Taliban, not by Al-Qaeda. So we've got a brand new enemy who in the past had only one goal, which was nationalistic in its direction, not international as Al-Qaeda is, but we've managed to transform that group into a very dangerous menace for our society.
And so a few years ago when I interviewed you for Texas Monthly, I asked you specifically, should we just get out? And you said no, because you thought having, you know, the old Pottery Barn rules in effect, you broke it, you bought it.
Right.
Having created the mess or facilitated the creation of the mess, we couldn't simply walk away from it because the mess would actually be worse. Do you still feel that way right now?
When we were talking about Iraq.
Yeah, in that case specifically.
And
Iraq,
and I felt, you know, once we had gone in there and created all that havoc, we did have and still do have a responsibility to try to keep the egg in place. You know, I think we can't walk away from our mistakes. We have to be very careful not to compound them while we're there.
And if we found bin Laden now, if we captured bin Laden, would it be more than a symbolic victory? Would it have an impact on the rest of the stuff that we're talking about, you think?
Oh, I feel like this is, there's so many reasons why capturing bin Laden would be important. For one thing, the fact that he survived this long encourages many enemies of the United States to think that, well, we're not such a primal force. Look at bin Laden. He's been alive 10 years. He's still putting out recordings and directing traffic all over the world.
Look what he did. He committed against this country the most heinous act you could, and yet he's somehow managed to escape punishment for 10 years. And
until recently, there was no obvious candidate to succeed him. Ayman al-Zawahiri is anti-charismatic. He's not a bin Laden figure at all.
But his son is
Ahmed, maybe he's standing in the
Maybe
way.
he's the one, right,
yeah. But it's gone on long enough that I think that we have a real promising candidate in Anwar al-Awlaki, the Yemeni American who is now operating from Yemen and sending quite a lot of operatives in this direction. And he is not only a possible successor, but actual competitor to bin Laden right now.
Interesting. This is all still up in the air, still in flux. That's incredible.